Good question. So a couple ways to handle that, at least, and there's two different ways. Dr. Mullins and I both handle it a little different. I typically get a sense when I go in the room what's their chief issue, and that's the template I'm going to pick. And then what I will do for those other things is, if it's a URI, but oh, by the way, can you look at this rash, doc? Or hey, I've got a mole, can you check out? Or and so what I typically do is I free text some of those complaints in as we're talking, and then but I still use the main template so that I can, one, get my coding markers. Dr. Mullins showed you can still insert different diagnoses within that assessment quickly and easily. But your point's well taken. Another way you can do it is you can insert a template on top of a template, which Dr. Mullins does more common than I do. And so, for example, let's pull up abscess follow-up. This is one that I've been using this week. I have a lady with a nice big pilonidal cyst. So let's say she's here for that. But then, by the way, I've been having vertigo. So why don't we scroll down to the bottom of the template. So you could either, if we go to the very bottom and then we hit Insert Template, we can now enter the Vertigo template. And now we have a whole set of issues that are more specific for vertigo. Now, I typically free text those things. You have the power of you have the option of having a note on top of a note if you'd like. And there's also a common note that we use called the SOAP note, which is kind of a multifunctional note if they just have a lot of non-specific issues. So I think it's best to find the main issue and then drop it below. Let's go to abdominal pain, maybe, for example. Abdominal pain is a common template, and I find it very effective. Abdominal pain, a lot of the points of abdominal pain, you're looking for sharp, dull, severity, radiation, frequency, duration of pain. And so to me, there's not as much story to that. And so if you can, you have now specific things about ways to document for abdominal pain. Now, if I needed to, what you bring up is very common, but what I do in that situation, I'd go down to other, and I'd say tripped, and I'm sitting there talking, and the patient's telling the story. I'm sitting there listening with my computer, my laptop on my lap, and I'm free texting all that stuff. And so, I think you develop an ability to type as you can speak, and if you can do that, then you can really be quick about it. And so I do free text with my laptop some of those issues where I need to have more story about it than just data points. But I found that when I go back and look at charts and I'm reviewing, someone comes back in for abdominal pain after following up, say 3 months ago, the bullet points to me when I go back and review and note, I can quickly look at severity, the things that I'm really interested in. I don't have to read through a big paragraph to remember the gist of their issues. And so I personally like the bullet point style of the notes because it allows you to quickly retrieve data in a meaningful way. But you can free text, and that's just when and some doctors, what they like to do, and if you don't like to type, some doctors use Dragon. They still use templates, but they go out of the room, put their little Dragon on, and they'll tell that story, and they'll tell where to go right into the note. And so that is an option. Right. There's multiple ways of documenting. We personally don't do that. I don't, mainly because I can sit there and type as I'm listening and still engage the patient. I don't have my, I'm sitting with the laptop and we're right in front of each other. I'm not my back to them, looking over like this. And so it really depends on your style of documentation.
We have one, Dr. Wolf, the other lady doctor uses mouse because she doesn't like her stylus. So we always steal all of her styluses. And she puts her little mouse up here and she takes it in the room and she uses her mouse. She thinks it's faster for her. She does lots of typing and clicking. She tells lots of stories. But she used to dictate, but she's now better at telling the stories with typing. All the rest of us use our styluses and we couldn't live without them.
In fact, I've disabled my mouse on my laptop because I can sit there and so as they're telling them about their URI, I'm just tap, 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 tap. And by the time I get down to the physical, I've already documented my whole HPI. I've got all my data points. I do the same thing on the physical. And when I leave the room and go on to the next patient, probably for me about 85 to 90% of the time, I'm done with that note when I move on to the next patient. And I love that. I love I don't have to worry about going back later and remembering, oh man, how many days was it that he had his ear pain for? It's already documented. And so I really like the stylus documentation.